News Bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
It is Thursday, the 2nd day of May, 2024. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. This is news to 6 a.m. on News Power Digital. Attorney General Reginald Armour, SC, has deemed the contents of a legal letter sent to him by Auditor General Jaiwanti Ramdas as threats and said he will not be intimidated in the course of executing his duties. In a response to her pre-action protocol letter dated April 29th, seeking the assurance that the state would cover her legal cost, Armour said in his letter, "Dealing first with your threat to disclose correspondence to the court, the AG is not and cannot, in the discharge of his public functions, be intimidated by threats. His duty and responsibility is to consider all matters on which he must make a decision fairly and properly, and to inform himself of all relevant matters, to make all relevant inquiries before he makes a decision. The Attorney General is confident that the Honorable Court will expect him to discharge his duty and responsibility in that matter." In her pre-action letter, Ramdas said if the AG did not respond to her, she would seek judicial review on the AG's inaction and failure to render a decision, to seek declaratory relief and respect to unfair treatment, breach of her constitutional rights to equality of treatment and protection of the law, a declaration that the independence of her office has been compromised and breached, and the declaration she's been treated unfairly, and an order directing the state to pay her reasonable legal costs incurred in connection with this matter. As such, she said she would disclose all documents to the court if she followed through on all actions. The AG in response added that the request for legal cost requires consideration, as any such representation raises the question of the use of public funds. Sanwo and Barataria MP Saddam Hussein is calling for a police investigation of the public accounts of 2023 to find out what happened with the handing over of those accounts to the Office of the Attorney General. He accused the People's National Movement, PNM, of trying to attack every independent institution and claimed the Auditor General had been threatened and harassed in the current issue regarding attempts to include additional revenue in the Auditor General's report for 2023. At a UNC media conference held yesterday, Hussein said there were reports of two statements dated January 31st, 2024, with different figures, one with 61 billion in revenue and another with 64 billion, which accounted for the 3 billion difference. Hussein added, "If what is said is true, it's tantamount to fraud and misbehavior in public office. If true," he said, "how could you backdate TNT's accounts to reflect a revenue figure of $3.2 billion difference?" 3 days after German hiker Tylo Cruz began a walk across Trinidad from Icacos to Toco, he posted on social media yesterday he was nearly robbed. He did not say where the attempted robbery took place, but while he was walking along the road, speaking on his cell phone, two men allegedly accosted him. 22-year-old Cruz said one of the men tackled him and they both fell to the ground. Cruz said he was able to reach his phone faster than his opponent and ran off. He added the man passing in a car eventually assisted him by stopping his vehicle and helped him escape the scene. He made a report to police and will continue his journey because he does not want this bad element to spoil the image of this country. Cruz is making a 250-kilometer walk without any money on him and just a cell phone, depending on the kindness of strangers to feed him and give him lodging along the way. People are being advised not to sideline regular health checks as they can provide useful information which can detect medical conditions that arise at an early stage. The advice coming from internal medicine, nephrology, and kidney transplant expert Dr. Sean Lynch. Commenting on the issue of diabetes, Dr. Lynch said chronic diseases can damage internal organs and the person may not experience any ill feelings at first. He cited developing positive lifestyle habits as regular exercise, eating healthy diets, and avoiding putting medical issues on the back burner. The Joint Trade Union Movement held its annual May Day rally in San Fernando yesterday, Wednesday. Unite to Fight is the theme chosen this year by JTUM. It brought together many reps of the Oilfield Workers Trade Union, building to highlight concerns and unaddressed working conditions in the country. A 4.2 magnitude earthquake recorded north of Venezuela and west of Trinidad. According to the University of the West Indies Seismic Research Center, the epicenter of the quake was located 120 kilometers west of Port of Spain. It took place approximately 1:33 p.m. yesterday, Wednesday. There were no reports of damage, nor property, or damage to property or loss of life. Jamaican sprint legend Usain Bolt will return to the Olympics this year after he was unveiled as the new brand ambassador for Jamaica's Olympic Association sponsor ahead of the Games upcoming in Paris. The announcement was made on Wednesday afternoon at the Half Tree Transport Center in St. Andrews, Jamaica. Bolt is an 8-time Olympic gold medalist. And finally, the Inter-American Development Bank's Better Jobs Index noted while 55% of workers in Latin America and the Caribbean have informal jobs without a contract or social security coverage, 3 out of 10 do not earn enough to surpass the poverty threshold. The Better Jobs Index is one of the IDP's tools for identifying areas of opportunity for developing and boosting productivity in Latin America and the Caribbean. It assesses job in countries through 2 dimensions, quantity and the quality of the jobs. And that is news to 6 a.m. right here, News Power Digital. We'll have major news coming your way at 7 a.m. Brought to you by Chisenko Appliances Limited. Good morning.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
Neighbors, 7 minutes after the hour is 6 o'clock on this, the second day of May. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us on the Power Breakfast Show on Power 102 Digital as we stream on YouTube and Facebook, on television. We stream on channel 111, that's Flow. On Digicel, it's channel 20. On Amplia, channel 117, and Flow HD 109. All right, we stream on television. So good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Of course, it's ours this morning. We just heard from Super Paul, Senator Dr. Paul Richards. We'll hear from Richard Ragoobarsingh. We got Shane. We got Ruben in the mix. My name is Steve Khan. It's a warm morning, 28 degrees at Piarco International Airport, 27 at Crown Point in Tobago. A little traffic as you head northbound by Chase Village. And pretty much from Charlieville to the interchange, you'll get your traffic heading into Port of Spain. All right. So good morning to you. All right. Yeah. So good morning to Super Paul.
Morning, Steve. Good morning, everyone. Good Thursday morning to you all.
Yeah. Morning to you, my friend. How art thou?
I am good, giving thanks and praise.
Always. Always. You have to do that, Yeah, you have
for protection.
To do for protection. Okay. All right. Let's say good morning. Good out to Wendy and James, DJ Ray out in Tampa, Anthony Tinto out in Ontario, Canada. He's saying happy birthday to Haley Hart, Highly Hart, of the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force. All right, good, happy birthday to you. Ray out in West Palm Beach, Florida. Marcio Rock out in Orlando. Godzilla in Valencia. Oliver Man Warren. Boy Bedesi out in Day. He has not brought my doubles to me as yet. Sasha out in London. Edwin Marshall, Wayne B, Deep Hair, John Cato, CG out in New York. Rita Budu Jennings, Carol Guevara, Alistair Hart, Edward Alion, good morning to you. Karen Yipnow, Mo Gaines out in Aruka, Aries Born, good morning. Shuin Ku, good morning to you. Of course, on WhatsApp, you can WhatsApp us at 318-1021. Good morning to Sankofa and Trev in Arima. Good morning to you guys as well. Thank you so much for sending us a message. You too can do that via Facebook and YouTube, and of course on WhatsApp. All right. So I got those out of the way. Right. Yes. And Captain Ron just snuck in. So good morning to Captain Ron, who is in Orlando. Okay. Thank you so much, Captain Ron. I have to mute this. How do I do that? Yeah. Anyway.
Yes. Plup, 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 not working.
Yeah. Let me see if I can mute this from here. Not there. Maybe here. Mute notifications. Always. Right. Right. Yes, Paul.
Yes, what's happening in the country?
Lots going on. Of course, we all so many people are following this young man from Germany, Thilo, I think that's how you pronounce it, who is walking from Toko to Icacos, that's right across, with no money, just his cell phone, and going by the graces of our beloved sweet people of TNT. And two imps decided, well, you know what? I'll take whatever you have. Thank goodness he was safe. And thank goodness he flagged down a car and he just jumped in. So kudos to the driver of that car.
Well, I saw people on social media facetiously commenting yesterday that if Thilo Cruz wanted a true Trini experience, he got it.
Well, he's doing something I won't do.
I said, well, you can't live in TNT and not get robbed, unfortunately.
Yeah. Thank goodness he's okay.
People commented on that. They said, well, he came to enjoy the experience of Trinidad and Tobago. And guess what? He got one of the experiences many citizens go through all the time.
Yeah.
Sadly.
But he also got the experience of the warmth of the citizenry of Trinidad and Tobago. You know?
That's true.
So, with no money and people giving him food and drinks and actually toothbrush and toothpaste, so, and a bed. So, Thilo Cruz, keep on your track. We'll be following you.
Good luck, Thilo. We hope you get to your destination safely and you'll be able to enjoy. Well, you already enjoy the kindness of strangers, so
yeah,
we hope you continue to enjoy the kindness of strangers in Trinidad and Tobago, and we hope no further ill will befalls you.
Yeah. He said, I'm reading some messages here. Okay. Yeah. So keep on your track, my friend. We're following you. It's all over social media.
The other thing that's all over social media is this.
Oh, gosh, yes.
Following the situation regarding the shark that bit the man who is now in Miami receiving care, the British national, apparently people went on a shark killing frenzy in Tobago.
Yeah.
What is that?
Sharks.
You see, that's when you put out bounties stupidly.
No, that's when you do not think.
And when you stupidly put out a bounty to catch a shark, yeah, and then withdraw it. Well, everybody didn't see. Apparently, everybody didn't see the notice to withdraw.
So they saw the bounty, but they didn't see anything.
Frenzy in Tobago.
I
don't know. That was so disturbing,
It is. They play such an important role.
Yes, Hector. Canada, Britain, and the US issued some advice that I saw circulating on social media, warning visitors about shark attack. That shark attack that went viral in this country and was carried on several international news networks. About the possibility of being attacked by sharks in waters. So,
well, Ian Lee sent us a message yesterday that he was boarding a flight to Turkey, and they asked him, where's he from? And he said, I'm from Trinidad and Tobago. And he said, oh yes, that's what the shark attack. And they have the bounty to capture the shark. And he felt so ashamed.
Yeah, but if they're going to continue in this vein, just going and hunt down sharks, that's going to destroy the ecosystem.
Very much so. They don't understand that. And you know what's sad too? Is that there are some young sharks that they also captured and killed.
But they didn't care about age or distinction marks. They didn't care about all of that. And of course, they're being sold for food now, but it's almost like an excuse or an approval to go hunt down more sharks than usual, because of course shark is a delicacy of some kind in Trinidad and Tobago. We eat bacon shark, or some of us eat bacon shark. I do like shark. So now this happened, in Tobago, and it's now almost a license to go and hunt sharks more intensely.
Yeah. It's sad. Look at those young sharks. And then a couple of years from now, they'll say, oh, you have no sharks in the water because you're killing all the young ones.
So.
I mean, I don't eat no seafood, but that is just
unfortunate.
Very much so. And it's a big joke. It's a big joke when they catch them. Anyway.
The imbroglio between the Attorney General and the Auditor General continued yesterday. I'm running out of popcorn, so. Where the Attorney General has now deemed the contents of the legal letter sent by Ms. Ramdas, the Auditor General, as threats, and says he will not be intimidated in response to her pre-action protocol letter dated August 29th, seeking the assurance that the state would cover her legal costs, as was first promised by the AG. He said, open quotations, dealing first with your threat to disclose correspondence to court, the AG is not and cannot be in the discharge of his public function, be intimidated by threats, he said. He said any request to or execution of using public funds has to be considered.
Hopefully we can get the AG on the program soon.
Daratari Salmon MP Saddam Hussein is calling for a police investigation of the public accounts for 2023 to find out what happened with the handing over of those accounts to the Office of the Auditor General. He accused the People's National Movement of trying to attack every independent institution and claimed the Auditor General had been threatened and harassed on the issue regarding attempts to include additional revenue, of course, the $3 billion, in the Auditor General's 2023 report. At the UNC media conference held yesterday, Hussein said there were reports of two statements dated January 31st with a different figure. That one totaling $61 billion in revenue, and the other totaling 64, with the additional $3 billion difference. He added, if what is said is true, he said it's tantamount to fraud and misbehavior in public office. And he also referenced the backdating issue. Now, could be the subject of our question this morning. If the audience thinks that the police should get involved in probing the issue related to the Auditor General's office. There is a financial intelligence unit at the TTPS, if I'm not mistaken. You understand? Who deal with financial issue? This is a financial issue. It'll be an interesting response from the audience to see if they feel that the police, the TTPS, should get involved in the investigation. Karen, I don't know.
Yeah, some messages coming through here.
I don't know if the 5 MPs were there, if the motion failed. What was the motion again? Remind me of the motion. What was the motion? Was the motion too regarding this Auditor General thing? There's so many motions that you kind of lose track after a while. Remind me.
Yeah, you lose track, you know.
The motion regarding the Auditor General. I don't see how that may have resulted in a snap election. I just don't. I mean, it may have. If the 5 MPs were there, it may have resulted in the government motion failing, because What, Hector? How are corrupting the poll by answering a question that's in the chat?
Let me see what he said.
It may have resulted in the government motion failing because if it's a tie and the chair is used, the status quo has to remain. The status quo would have been what exists today. You understand? So I don't think the FIU has any prosecutorial powers. I think the FIU is an investigative agency. To answer DL, good morning, Mr. Ragoobarsingh.
Good morning,
Morning,
guys.
Church.
Good morning to our listeners and viewers, wherever you are, on this Thursday morning.
Karen, the government doesn't have the ability to postpone any vote. That would be the remit of the chair.
This is a vote concerning what?
No, the people were asking on the chat about the issue related to the vote last Friday in the House, where the 5 opposition MPs were absent, and if and how that could result in the government having to call a snap election, because that motion would have been won by the opposition. I don't understand this suggestion. Maybe I just don't understand it. So
What? No, I don't see how a snap election is connected to that.
I don't know. Maybe I just don't understand. Maybe you all know something I don't. Anyway, we were talking about a suggestion by Barataria Sanwan MP Saddam Hussein yesterday at a press conference that said that he wanted a police investigation into the situation regarding the Auditor General's 2023 report. And we thought that might have been a good question.
A police investigation. But he's saying that there's something maybe criminal in terms of...
Yeah, he's saying it could be tantamount to fraud if there's a check allegedly backdated and it could be considered misbehavior in public office. Yeah, so FI, Financial Intelligence Bureau. Yeah, well, yeah, I stand corrected, John Cato. So there is a division of the police service that can investigate if they feel there's cause for investigation. I think any financial issue in the country, would that not be Sir Richard, including an Auditor General report? Am I wrong there?
Say that again, sorry?
If the Financial Investigation Bureau of the TTPS feels that some criminal issue took place, criminal activity took place, and that Auditor General imbroglio, report imbroglio, that's not in the public domain, don't they have the remit to investigate?
Once once the facts support that there may have been a criminal act, of course the TTPS can investigate.
Exactly. So that can be a question this morning. Do you agree with Saddam Hussein that a police probe should be initiated into the Auditor General imbroglio?
I don't know if anyway, I mean, I suppose people could vote.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's at that point in my mind.
Well, MP Hussein has put a new spin on it, saying that it could be fraud and it could be tantamount to misbehavior in public office if the allegations of backdating a check, which the Auditor General has said is unethical, that's already in the public record. Yeah.
Well, we'll see how it all plays out, I guess.
But we're seeing how it all playing out.
Well, the police may not. It's only the police that can charge, really. So I don't know that
Exactly.
the police. I don't know that the TTPS is necessarily going to take its brief from Saddam Hussein. But if the facts support the elements of fraud, then certainly the TTPS can investigate. So they will have to determine whether they think the circumstances reflect that.
The chat activate, yes. Don't mention nothing in the news, so we shouldn't put a question because it came out of a UNC person's mouth. Really? Did you see this, Ragoobarsingh?
I'm seeing the article about it. That's sharks that was slaughtered in Buku. That's what happens.
Yeah.
When you make bounty statements and stuff like that, there are repercussions. So it's it's sad.
Yeah, we said that. It's very sad.
But what are they doing about it now?
Eating them.
Are they calling people to stop?
Well,
There's a
I have
call to stop.
seen calls for it to stop, and people be more mindful of the ecological damage that can take place if they continue hunting sharks indiscriminately.
No, so who said that? You or the
No, I
teacher?
didn't say. I saw calls in Tobago from environmentalists for people to be more careful and doing that.
Well, I'm seeing in one of the articles,
And the biologist actually.
in one of the articles today, the THA condemns the slaughter of the sharks at Buku. So I could read a little bit about it. The Tobago House of Assembly yesterday strongly condemned the indiscriminate killing of over a dozen sharks at Buku in Tobago. This shark kill comes 6 days after a 64-year-old British national was attacked by a bull shark at Turtle Bay in Tobago. Last Friday, THA's Chief Secretary Farley Augustine issued a $10,000 bounty for capturing the shark involved in the attack, but this was quickly recalled following a public outcry. Yesterday, there was more public outcry after videos emerged of fishermen gutting and cleaning at least 13 sharks of different species and sizes on the coast of Buko. This caught the attention of the THA's Division of Food Security, Natural Resources, the Environment, and Sustainable Development. In a statement, the division said, "We understand the concerns and fears arising from the recent incident. However, reacting to this isolated event by targeting and killing sharks indiscriminately is not only ineffective in preventing future incidents, but also harmful to our marine biodiversity." So the teacher did say something. But I know that there are also some activists who call for not killing sharks, period. Even for the famous bacon shark that Trinidadians love so much, even though a lot of the times it's catfish.
There are activists who ask that people stop killing animals, full stop, not the sharks.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about sharks right now, but you want to talk about kangaroos?
And
we're talking about sharks.
And goats and cows and everything else humans eat. So,
but anyway, because sharks can
the general has sent a report to the Parliament. Okay? Who? FYI. It has not been made by the Minister of Finance, but the Auditor General has sent a report to the Parliament.
Oh, okay.
Just for your information.
Who are you talking to there?
One of the comments in the chat.
Oh, okay. You're all up in the chat this morning.
The chat is fun this morning. The chat is fun every morning.
Oh, Lord, hey.
The chat is fun. That chat hot,
they get on sometimes. Yes.
That chat always hot. Not sometimes.
They get hot under the collar.
Then a whole sugar on the chat,
So then people be responding to each other too and calling each
other. One of them in the chat this morning knew what color underwear I have.
Oh, jeez.
He's sure. You know what color underwear I have this morning. Right. Glad you know. So. Oh, Jehovah, have mercy on your children. Have mercy on your children. And my children, you need to help me Tilo cruise the German hiker when you pass in a river. Zena, good morning. The man say he's looking for the kindness of strangers to give him lodging, Zena. Lodging.
Don't get jealous, Paul. Do not get jealous.
Oh yeah, Zena singing. Oh yeah, oh.
Some people do things like that.
Daba, do. That was Zena singing right now.
I say some people do things like that across the planet.
One German hiker coming to Arima now. Bong sub Zina. Zina is the Congo woman, you know.
Ooh, wow.
Yabba dabba dabba do it, you know. The German cruise coming, he's looking for lodging for a night, Zena. And he wants the kindness of strangers, Zena. So he said it was an attempted robbery. For those who are asking.
I saw that video.
He said the person attempted to rob him of his cell phone, but he was faster and grabbed the cell phone when they went into a tussle. And then he flagged down a car, and a kind stranger picked him up and helped him to escape from the two robbers. Of course, you all know that has gone viral also.
National, yeah.
Okay. Never a dull moment they're trying to be great, you know. Never a dull moment. Never a dull moment. Never a dull moment. Did you all feel the earthquake yesterday afternoon? But it wasn't in Trinidad, but
No.
it's off Trinidad.
No.
No.
Good thing too. I do not like earthquakes.
You felt it, Paul?
And who likes earthquakes, Steve?
No, it just
Yeah, I don't think
Who
it
likes
is.
earthquakes?
me out. I'll be stressed out for hours.
I just feel like I was in the office.
People love
1:33 p.m. I was in the
But
office. So I didn't feel a thing. But maybe that was Avril slamming the newsroom door.
Could be. That always happens. That I feel.
She's very testy about leaving that door open these days. Very testy.
Well,
It happened at 1:33. It was recorded north of Venezuela and west of Trinidad. It measured 4.2 on the scale. I don't know if it's the Richter scale. 120 kilometers west of Port of Spain. There were no reports of loss of life, no damage to property.
But I see Digital and Flow have adjusted their prices again. Both are increasing their price.
So I'm glad you bring it up.
Yeah.
And but an email, but we treasure transparency. I mean, you treasure raising rates.
Yeah, that's what they're doing. Yeah.
And we have upgraded your package, although you didn't ask for it. Of course, the upgraded package will come at an additional cost.
Yeah,
so
everything is at an additional cost.
Cost update have endured from Digital since taking this service years ago. Really, Digital?
I don't understand.
And they both of them the same time, eh?
Yeah, like they planned it, eh?
But you think it was coincidence? If you do it, we go do it. We go ask being wild too, but if they didn't take we go still go together because they can both away one time. Well, we can.
You said because of demand of users with Android boxes and Netflix.
Android.
So we have to upgrade. So we have to pay for the upgrade.
Android users. By Android users.
Android boxes. Let me see if I can find it here. Who sent that to me?
But but anyway.
Yes, Karen, they introduced the advisory. Let me put it up in my email. Because as I read it, I there was an increase. Despite the mama guy.
Yes, urgent message is how it was
From the time I see it, I say, this is a mama guy, and this is an
important notice from Flo. I think was how the
starts. We are happy. But we're not happy. We're glad all they're happy, but we're not happy. We had to talk to Tata about that, you know. What is the legality of increasing your package, right? You didn't ask for an increase in your megabits upload or download. You didn't ask for that, right? Mm-hmm. They said they're doing it out of the kindness that they had because they want you to have a better service. Mm-hmm. And by the way, it will cost you more. So we want to provide a better service for you, but the better service is not cheap. And I didn't ask for it, but you had to take it anyway because we're doing everybody. That sound right to you? Legally, Ragoobarsingh as a trained attorney at law.
Usually when they upgrade your packages, usually at no extra cost. So it's strange.
No extra cost?
It's usually at no extra cost when they upgrade it without your, asking to be upgraded. Usually it's at no extra cost. So it's unusual for them to upgrade you and charge you more. So of course you could say no. Why are you charging me more? Leave me at my old rate.
Good morning, Kavita. Sorry, Dabadine. You're right. Since I have Digicel, my bill went from my package, including TV and internet, went from just over $400 to now just about $600.
Yeah, same with me. I have Digicel at home.
Okay.
And then I go, you're absolutely right, Kavita.
So, Kavita, you're absolutely right. And they add these add-ons and they do this and that and they upgrade. You upgrade your thing, but if you upgrade it and I didn't ask for the upgrade, why are you adding thing to my bill? I guess you can remonstrate and say that I don't want this and they will keep you at the old rate. If you do decide, they could do that, can they? But most people just take it, eh? And do you get a rebate when because in the last couple, and I'm not surprised with it, because in the last a month or so, every 2 days we apologize for the disruption that we are working and making the service better every 3 days or so. Not so? They've been pressing that on you, and the service is going to be down from midnight to this because we're upgrading to serve the service better for you.
Yeah. And not forgetting the drop-offs that you get every so often.
That needs to weigh in on this, you know. And
that is very quiet when it comes
Mrs. Reddock on the show to talk about what is legal and what is not from these telecom providers. Not so? Or the head of legal at TAT.
Yeah.
But there's something they shouldn't be able to do, eh?
Not Shonda Moore?
No.
No.
But Shonda is part of TAT also.
Yeah.
I don't know. People really don't act right. People just go along with it because, well, you need it and you feel you can't do it without it. And if it was in the US or the UK, they get one protest today. You understand?
Or you could downgrade your package. If everybody downgraded their packages,
and they start to lose money.
Yeah. Say, well, okay, just downgrade my package.
Yeah, I don't want the upgrade.
Yeah.
Leave it where it is. I don't want the
even if your current package is going to rise, increase. So you could say, okay, for every time you increase, take down my package to the lower level.
Yeah, so that will help.
Yeah, so it leaves me on a certain level with what I was paying before.
And then some of them will start to ensure you have spotty service, so you need it to be upgraded. They say, well, you opted for the lower package, so we can help you if your internet blacking out and it's spotty.
Yeah.
Did you see the intensification of the Auditor General, AG Imbroglio?
Well, I saw that the AG is saying that I won't be intimidated by
threats. Intimidated.
Yeah. He's made a public statement. Well, it's quoted in the newspapers today. I won't be intimidated by threats. I don't know. But I mean, I'm not so sure to what he's referring. I haven't read the article.
Well, he has said
that the reaction protocol letter he's referring to, and I'm not sure.
He said, dealing with your, I'm quoting here, dealing with your threat to disclose correspondence to the court, because apparently that was included in the pre-action protocol. The Attorney General is not and cannot be in the discharge of his public function be intimidated by threats. And this is in relation to the initial assurance, or is it assurance? The initial suggestion that she should seek the Auditor General, that is, independent legal counsel, and the state will consider paying for it under reasonable circumstances. And I guess she's saying now, well, I have gotten counsel. Are you going to keep that promise? If not, I will make all the relevant inquiries available to the court in seeking judicial review. How would this get here? Despite the calls for it to calm down, it ain't calming down, eh?
Not yet.
No. No, it's not.
Yeah, it's not a good look.
No, it's intensifying.
Yeah, it's not a good look.
No.
For such senior officers to be, in a public part of sorts.
Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. FYI, the Jamaican Olympic Committee has announced that Jamaican sprint legend Usain Bolt will return to the Olympics in Paris after he was unveiled as the ambassador for Brand Jamaica Olympic Association ahead of the games. to rile up support for Team and Brand Jamaica in Paris, even a month and a half before the Olympics start. Things that make you go, that makes sense. Not so?
He's going to be an ambassador?
He is the primary ambassador for Team Jamaica.
What does that mean?
It means that he goes about to various functions promoting the interests of the Jamaican athletes and getting the sponsors and the people in Paris and in the Olympic community globally. Because he wherever he goes, he gets a lot of attention. He's a brand ambassador for Team Jamaica and Brand Jamaica at the Olympics. And an ambassador raises the profile of the athletes and gets the world ready for the athletes attending the games, and so it helps their support regime.
Yeah. No, I get it.
Just like Barbados used Rihanna as a global brand ambassador.
Yep.
Because of a global footprint. It makes sense, kind of.
Yeah. And Jamaica is actually experiencing its highest revenue ever from tourism.
I wonder why.
So,
I guess it just happened to increase. So we can't do nothing to promote this as well. As someone mentioned in the Senate, I think it was Senator Roberts, that when he turned on the TV on UK channels and Al Jazeera, the number of ads he was seeing for Barbados, 15-second ads, promoting Barbados as a venue for the upcoming cricket tournament. You understand? Capitalizing on their investment for tourists to come to Barbados for the 8 matches they have. Do we have ads on? Do we? Asking for a friend. Do we?
You know, I have an obvious segue there, but I'm not going to use it.
Because they could come to Trinidad and Tobago and look at the matches, and in their downtime, go to, well, it ain't gonna be happening then, but let's make it easier for you, Ragoobarsingh. Love
Theater. Love is a walk. On at Cipriani College this weekend, Saturday at 8:30 and Sunday at 6:30.
I have to force it in. We're like, tickets sell out already. You don't need to promote again.
Wouldn't it be wonderful for theater to get to that point?
Yes,
like
yes.
It is, like it is
Do we
in
still have Anita Haynes on later today, Steve?
Yep, we do.
One of the so-called 5 dissidents. Hector is saying he's in the US 33 years and he's never seen an ad about Trinidad. But I have seen ads about Tobago on American networks. So that's something. Hector. Karen is saying we have Facebook sponsored ads. Maybe we do. That'll be great. And that's the new way to go. So I guess that's why. Anyway, you have papers, Ragoobarsingh. I presume you're in the capital.
I absolutely do have newspapers this morning. And I can start very quickly with the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian of Thursday, May. Of course, it is Thursday, May 2nd, 2024. It's the second day of the month, of the new month. So the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian for today, and the front page headline, Shark Kill is the headline that the Guardian went with this morning. After last week's attack on UK visitor, Shark Kill. Fishermen bring in huge haul at Buku. THA condemns indiscriminate hunting. And there are pictures of it. It's basically a picture of the video that video, but it's just a picture of it. A member of the public holds up a dead shark at Buku, Tobago, after several of them were caught by fishermen. AG to Auditor General, don't threaten me. That's also on the front page of The Guardian. And NAMDEFCO monitors coconut shortage. I didn't even know there was a coconut shortage.
I didn't even know that too, myself.
But NAMDEFCO is monitoring it. That's one of the subheadlines. And on the back page, Charles blasts Nepal for 119. So that's the front and the back of the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian. The Newsday for today. Front page, main headline, TT's image at risk. Munilal, economist alarmed over government auditor general impasse. TT's image at risk is the headline. Beetham Gardens 2 weeks stink is also a subheadline. And the main picture is that of members of the Joint Trade Union Movement raised their clenched fists during a May Day march in San Fernando on Wednesday. Of course, yesterday was a May Day. Is that any? Okay, no. That's another subheadline. On the back page of the Newsday today, Charles hits 119 to lead Windies A past Nepal in third T20. Late push for World Cup spot. And Digital Foundation pledges $100,000 to SOTT's national games. So that's it for the Newsday. On to the Daily Express for today. What's the headline in the Daily Express? It's kind of close to what the Guardian had as a subheadline, but they have it as a main headline. Don't threaten me. AG responds to warning from Auditor General's lawyers to sue if state does not pay legal costs. Don't threaten me is the headline. THA condemns shark slaughter in Tobago, a subheadline. Auditor General's report revealed Indonesian firm disappears. US $26,000 up in the air, and one MP receives $752,000 in government rent. That's some of the subheadlines. May Day celebrations, of course, unions were out yesterday, and there's a picture of them walking along Rushworth Street yesterday during the annual May Day rally through the streets of San Fernando. And on the back page of the Newsday, Dominant Charles, it's all about Charles this morning. Opener blast unbeaten ton as West Indies A go 2-1 up in T20 series. And Army and AC Port of Spain look for points. That's it for our 3 dailies this morning.
All righty, let's get the results of our morning poll, which we asked you yesterday. Do you think the Auditor General's office is under political attack? That was our poll yesterday. Give results right after this.
Make or review your emergency plan. It is important to develop, review, and update your emergency plan for your home, workplace, or place of worship. When a crisis, an emergency, or a disaster strikes, have a plan for how you and your loved ones will respond to the crisis or get safely outdoors. If exit doors are compromised, how will you get out? What's your alternative exit? Designate a safe meeting point that can be easily accessible to all persons, even persons with physical disabilities. Does everyone know and understand the emergency plan? Do you know the evacuation plan and muster point for places that you visit regularly? Get together and speak about how you, your community, business, or place of worship would respond if a disaster occurs. Remember, everyone must be prepared, be secured, and be ready.
All right. Good morning, ODPM. Our poll yesterday. Do you think the Auditor General's office is under political attack? You voted on our website and our mobile app. 73%, 73 said yes. All right. Let's get into this morning's poll.
Where Ragoobarsingh going?
Right here, just getting some stuff.
What do you think the poll should be? Do you agree that it should be?
One already.
I want the phrasing right. Do you think the TTPS should begin an investigation of the 2023 report discrepancies? You see, I don't want to say the Auditor General's report because that is not really the subject of the issue here.
No, do it. Do you agree with Saddam Hussein? Do it that way. Phrase it that way.
What Saddam Hussein? What about Saddam Hussein?
But what he said, that there should be an investigation or whatever it is that he actually said. Let me see.
Into the public accounts 2023. That's what he said. Public account 2023.
Yeah, just phrase it around what as he said. That's how I would do it. Saddam calls for police probe into 2023 public accounts. So he's calling for that. So Salman Baratara MP Saddam Hussein is calling for a police investigation of the public accounts for 2023 to find out what happened with the handing over of those accounts to the Office of the Auditor General. He accused the People's National Movement of trying.
Is that okay?
Yeah. So do you think TTPS should begin an investigation of the 2023 public accounts as suggested by MP Saddam Hussein? Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah. It captures basically what he said.
Right.
All right.
So our poll, do you think the TTPS should begin an investigation of the 2023 public accounts as suggested by MP Saddam Hussein? Yes or no?
Yeah.
And that's our poll this morning. That's one of the
222-8255. North Americans, toll-free number for you. 866-525-1099 on WhatsApp at 318-1021, and of course on Facebook and on YouTube. All right. We have DL saying yes. Anyhow, Miguel says no. Josie Richardson says yes. Hector says yes, definitely. Lester Crigwell, yes. Alistair Hart, yes. Ivan Joseph, no to the poll. Julia S. Batiste says yes. Good morning, Val. David Nelson, good morning to you. Michael Robinson, Yokohama, Japan, says yes. Karen Yipnow, yes. Kavita Dabedin, yes. Royalty Forever, yes. Captain Ron out in Orlando, yes. Via WhatsApp. All right. Do you think the TTPS should begin an investigation of the 2023 public accounts as suggested by Member of Parliament Saddam Hussein?
Yeah,
yes.
to talk to the 28255 North Americans toll free 866-525-1099. People on the web and all our streaming platforms, you can send your votes via the messaging portals located wherever you're streaming from. And of course, those of you watching us on television, 111 on Flow, 20 on Digital, and 20 on Amplia, and 117 on Digital. I think I got that right.
No, channel 20 on Digital, Amplia, channel 117.
Okay, I swapped it.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Prabha says yes. Carl M. Jack says yes. Oscar Daniel says no. Okay. Cascade St. Anne's says yes. All right.
Of course, you can also WhatsApp us at 868-318-1021. That's 318-1021.
Yeah. All right.
We'd like to take time to thank you all for being here on our various platforms this morning. We appreciate you being with us every morning.
Oh, got some calls.
All of you.
Every single one. Even you, Karen. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, gentlemen.
And you too, darling.
Paul.
Yes, my dear.
I want to say that day before yesterday, the lines weren't open for us to call and vote. That's why yesterday morning I just stay under my cover and sleep.
The lines were open.
Yes, the lines were open.
No, you did not take any call the day before yesterday. I'm not saying.
I am not. I disagree with that strongly.
I'm not saying
calls every morning.
But anybody could call and say the normal callers who would call and answer the poll did not get in. I called and I was on the phone for a long time.
Did not get in did not mean the lines weren't open, darling. It means you didn't get in. Could you vote?
You didn't get in the right queue. Anyway, let's move on.
You can vote, please.
Okay, so yes or no to our poll.
And Paulie Sido, money for you. I ain't eating no white meat.
Oh Lord,
oh boy.
Hell no. What's how police getting in that? The reporter can fix yet. Why you tell them and go and sleep? Why? I go.
What? Somebody wake up on the wrong side of the bed. Good morning.
Good morning. Move yes to the poll.
All right, move on. Thank you so much. All the best. You two could move on and call 222-8255. Do you think the TTPS, the police, should begin an investigation of the 2023 public accounts as suggested by Member of Parliament for San Juan Barataria, Saddam Hussein? Yes or no?
That's our poll.
318-1021. Morning, Lorna. Indy and Kali says yes to the poll.
Is that one vote?
Yes.
Okay.
Slick Money Grip says no to the poll. Right, okay. Yes. Do you think the police should investigate? Yes or no? You have 3 minutes to vote. Wayne B. Wayne B, where are you? Georgia or Trin City? But Wayne B says no. John Cato says yes. What says you, caller?
Good morning.
Morning.
I say yes to that poll. Definitely need an investigation.
All right, where are you calling us from?
Diego Martin.
Diego Martin. Thank you so much. All the best. Yeah. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. No waste of time, waste of resources.
Okay, thank you. Adrian Cotto says yes. Valerie Mendoza says no. Thank you, Valerie. Let's see. All right. Do you think the police should begin an investigation of the 2023 public accounts as suggested by MP Saddam Hussein? All right. On WhatsApp, I have Reginald Budd saying yes. I've got Lenny James, LJ, saying no. Carol Guevara saying no. All right. Thank you, guys. Keep voting, keep voting. You have a minute again.
So do you think the TTPS should begin an investigation of the 2023 public accounts as suggested by MP Saddam Hussein? That's our poll this morning. What say you, listeners and viewers, wherever you are around the planet? We're interested in your opinion. Tell us yes or no to our poll this morning.
So all right. Peter says no. Thank you, Peter. All right. We set up for our 7 o'clock major news.
Is it Brian Lara's birthday?
It is. He is 55 years old today. Happy birthday to you, Brian Charles Lara, the Prince of Port of Spain.
Happy birthday, Brian.
Big line later, I'm sure. All right, gentlemen. Let's see. Yeah, we have 30 seconds again. Let's see, who is this here? Roger Seawing says yes. I have got Eric Felix saying no. Oh, okay. I got you, Valerie. I got you. Ian Lee says emphatically no.
Ian Lee says no?
Ian Lee says no.
News is next.
Yep. CJ in Boston. Oh, geez, it moved. Let me just get this quickly here. So I have these votes. CJ says no. Trinity in Boston says no. Patricia Batiste says no.
News is next.
Said yes. It's 6:59 and 50 seconds, Paul.
It's 7 a.m.
I'm going by the global international clock, which I always have up.
If it's not the Auditor General,
if it's not the Auditor General, is Senator Paul Richards. Blame one of them. All right. Jeez. When he sits here, he can tell the time. Let's get into our major news, all powered by Genesco Appliances. All right.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
Attorney General Reginald Amo describes the contents of a legal letter sent to him by the Auditor General as threats. San Juan Barataria MP Saddam Hussein calls for a police investigation of the public accounts of 2023 to find out what happened with the handing over of those accounts to the Office of the Auditor General. 3 days after German hiker Tilo Cruz began to walk across Trinidad from Toco to Icacos, he posted on social media that he was nearly robbed and a 4.2 earthquake west of Trinidad. Details in a moment.
Mom deserves the best with Genesco Appliances. They have just that for her this Mother's Day with the appliances that boosts double the features. Save 8% on both our 7 cubic foot freezer fridge and 30-inch stainless steel rotisserie stove this Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day from Genesco Appliances.
This is news to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. I'm Afril Sintel Bob. Good morning. Attorney General Reginald Amo has deemed the contents of a legal letter sent to him by Auditor General Jaiwanti Ramdas as threats and said that he will not be intimidated in the course of his duties. In a response to her pre-action protocol letter sent on April 29th, seeking the assurance that the state would cover her legal costs, Amo said in a letter, quote, "Dealing first with your threat to disclose correspondence to the court, the Attorney General is not and cannot, in the discharge of his public functions, be intimidated by threats. His duty and responsibility is to consider all matters on which he must make a decision fairly and properly, and to inform himself of all relevant matters and to make relevant inquiries before he makes a decision. The Attorney General is confident that the Honorable Court would expect him to discharge his duty and responsibility in that manner," end quote. In her pre-action letter, Ramdas had said if the AG did not respond to her, she would seek judicial review on the AG's inaction and failure to render a decision to seek declaratory relief with respect to unfair treatment. San Juan Barataria MP Saddam Hussein is calling for a police investigation of the public accounts for 2023 to find out what happened with the handing over of those accounts to the Office of the Auditor General. He accused the People's National Movement of trying to attack every independent institution and claimed that the Auditor General had been threatened and harassed in the current issue regarding attempts to include additional revenue in the Auditor General's 2023 report. At a UNC media conference yesterday, Hussein said there were reports of 2 statements dated January 31st, 2024, with different figures. One with $61 billion in revenue and another with $64 billion, which accounted for the $3 billion difference. Hussein added, quote, "And if what is said is true, that's tantamount to fraud and misbehavior in public office. If true, how could you backdate TNT's public accounts reflecting a revenue figure of $3.2 billion difference," end quote. 3 days after German hiker Tilo Cruz began to walk across Trinidad from Toco to Icacos, he posted on social media yesterday that he was nearly robbed. He did not say where the attempted robbery took place, but while he was walking along the road and speaking on his cell phone, he said 2 men accosted him. 20-year-old Cruz said one of the men tackled him and they both fell to the ground fighting. Cruz said that he was able to reach his phone faster than his opponent and ran off. He added that a man passing in a car eventually assisted him by stopping his vehicle and helping him escape the scene. He made a report to the police, but said that he will continue his journey because he did not want the bad element to spoil the image of the country. Cruz is making the 250-kilometer walk without any money on him and just his cell phone, depending on the kindness of strangers to feed him and give him lodging along the way. People are being advised not to sideline regular health checks as they can provide useful information which can detect medical conditions which could arise at an early age. The advice comes from specialists in internal medicine, nephrology, and kidney transplant, Dr. Sean Lynch. Commenting on the issue of diabetes, Dr. Lynch said chronic diseases can damage internal organs and a person may not experience any ill feeling. He cited developing positive lifestyle habits such as regular exercise, eating healthy, and avoiding putting medical issues on the back burner. Dr. Lynch claimed many people have type 2 diabetes, which is the vast majority of Trinidad and Tobago population, and they are not aware of it. He was speaking on the Hard Talk program on Power 102 Digital on Wednesday.
Patients will tell me, oh, I've never been to a doctor in the past 10 years. Now, for me, I don't see that as being anything to be too proud about. Why? Because a lot of diseases, a lot of cancers and stuff right now, they don't have symptoms. So diabetes, yes, if some people may have symptoms, they may feel very thirsty, they may be losing weight, they're feeling hungry all the time, but the vast majority may have no symptoms, or we put off and we attribute some of those symptoms to other things.
The Joint Trade Union Movement held its annual May Day rally in San Fernando on Wednesday. Unite to Fight is the theme, or was the theme chosen this year by JTUM. It brought together many representatives at the Oilfield Workers Trade Union building to highlight concerns and unaddressed working conditions. The Trinidad and Tobago Registered Nurses Association continued its appeal for recognition of the right of nursing and midwifery personnel to collective bargaining. The Trinidad and Tobago Postal Workers Union appealed to the Chief Personnel Officer to implement the approved job evaluation salaries for postal employees. You are listening to news on Power 102 Digital to 7 o'clock. A 4.2 earthquake was recorded north of Venezuela and west of Trinidad. According to the University of the West Indies Seismic Research Center, the epicenter of the quake was located 120 kilometers west of Port of Spain. It took place at 1:33 p.m. on Wednesday. There are no reports of damage to property or loss of life. Well, finally, here's weather news for the period today till midnight. Trinidad, generally sunny and breezy conditions, interrupted by a few cloudy periods with showers from late morning. Nighttime will be mostly fair despite a few isolated showers. Tobago, fair to partly cloudy and breezy conditions with intervals of mostly light showers. Low chance of a few isolated moderate showers. Nighttime expected to be generally fair despite a few isolated showers. Expect a forecast maximum temperature of 33 degrees Celsius at Piarco International Airport and 32 degrees Celsius at Crown Point, Tobago. It's currently 28 degrees Celsius at both localities. Recapping your headlines to 7 o'clock, Attorney General Reginald Amo describes the contents of a legal letter sent to him by the Auditor General as threats. San Juan Barataria MP Saddam Hussein calls for a police investigation of the public accounts for 2023 to find out what happened with the handing over of those accounts to the Office of the Auditor General. 3 days after German hiker Thilo Cruz began his walk across Trinidad from Togo to Icacos, he posted that he was nearly robbed, and a 4.2 earthquake is felt west of Trinidad. I'm Avril Sindel-Bar. That was news to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. Look out for more news in detail at 12 noon today and an update at 8 o'clock this morning. For more details, log on to power102fm.com.
Hey, mom deserves the best with Genesco Appliances. They have just that for her this Mother's Day with our appliances that boost double the features. Save 8% on both our 7 cubic foot fridge freezer and 30-inch stainless steel rotisserie stove this Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day from Genesco Appliances. Of course, appliances.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
All right. Thank you, Evie, for our major news. You can join her again. Come at 8 o'clock with our news update. All right. Let's see. Traffic-wise, where you think you're going to get traffic, you will. I have no accidents to tell you about at this time. Let's keep it that way, shall we? All right. Let's see if we have any more votes coming in here. Let's see. We have, right. CPT Singh said yes. I did Patricia Batiste. Checking on WhatsApp. Okay, Peter, thank you so much.
I keep seeing reports, just as we're coming out of the news, and I can't confirm it, that the owner of Crystal Waters was killed But I haven't seen any major entities report it. That'll be very sad. So I hope it's not true.
Wow. I really hope that's not true. Yeah,
All right.
anyway, I'm going to
The
say what
results, Ragoobarsingh, our guest is standing by.
Yeah, so are you finished with the votes, Steve?
Yep, I just had one more for you. Did you get that? CPTC?
Yes.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah. All right, so our poll this morning was, do you think the TTPS should begin an investigation of the 2023 public accounts as suggested by MP Saddam Hussein? We had 39 people, we were just one shy of 40, 39 people voting on the poll this morning, and of the 39 people, 23 said yes, they agree that there should be an investigation, and 16 of you said no, you do not agree. So 23 said yes, and 16 said no, for a total of 39. You can continue to vote on this poll throughout the day, throughout programming, and we'll give you the final result tomorrow morning, which will be Friday, because the weekend begins tonight, people, at a second after midnight. And
All right.
Good morning, beautiful. That's not Steve.
Morning, Paul. Morning, Paul.
Good morning. Didn't you hear me say good morning, beautiful? And I could not be speaking to Steve.
And I answered.
I could not be speaking to Steve and or Richard Ragoobarsingh.
I apologize. Good morning. How are you all?
Morning, dear. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Let's say happy belated birthday going out to Daddy, whose birthday was yesterday.
Yes, my dad's
So happy belated birthday to Mr. Haynes. I was expecting cake and ice cream outside the office when I walked in this morning. I didn't see any. I guess it's delayed with the traffic.
Anita, nobody can beg for cake and ice cream like Steve can.
Beg for any food.
can.
Beg for any food. Good morning, my dear. Would you like to answer a question this morning?
About the Auditor General and the investigation?
Yeah, your colleague on the opposition bench in the House has suggested the TTPS should begin an investigation of the 2023 public accounts. Do you agree with that?
I believe that an investigation is required. Usually with a criminal investigation, you have to meet certain parameters to trigger an investigation. But while we are looking into it, there's certainly room for concern with how the accounts are being handled at this time. So police, certainly with in the fullness of time, want to look at all of the elements at play. But there is room for an investigation, I will say that.
Right. Do you consider yourself a dissident? You've been described as such by many, and the papers have picked it up with you and four other colleagues of yours.
I do. I mean, what am I being accused of dissenting to? So that has been my question across the board, because when I spoke out, and the one statement that I would have made was that I believe the internal election should be called within the quickest possible fashion so that we can deal with our internal matters, we can strengthen and fortify our party, because if you want to deliver transformative, progressive governance, you have to begin at home. So you have to do that within your political organization. And as far as I'm aware, the political leader has stated categorically that the elections will be held when they are constitutionally due. So in my mind, the only persons who could be accused of being dissidents are persons who disagree that elections ought not to, or people who think that elections ought not to be held. So, I've seen it, but I mean, nobody's been able to answer the question as to what are we dissenting to. And so, because there seems to be an agreement, and it seems to be that there's a settled fact that the elections will take place. And then everything else that has happened since then, I think has been an attempt to complicate a very simple issue, which is
Mr. Peter Kanhai is quoted in one of the newspapers today saying the election is due, or this executive expires on June 26th.
Right.
I don't know what that means in terms of the machinery of the UNC's internal mechanisms to announce the date, and if there are time frames within which this executive expires for an election date to be called and or an election process to begin. Can you update us on what that usually is?
Right. So the Constitution of the United National Congress gives a good amount of power to the national executive to make certain decisions. You would have to, at the expiration of the current national executive, you would have to trigger the internal election. So you have about 5 weeks. Now you can do it before, which is an issue that I've raised both internally and externally in terms of the national public, a question of fixed election dates. I believe that the only benefit that the incumbents should have, or the only advantage incumbents should have, should be their performance and not the idea of having election dates in your back pocket. And so that you, the executive can expire and then have the election triggered. But the executive can also call a Congress and do things to postpone the elections. And there are a number of ways around it. But that is why a call was issued to ensure that the internal elections will be happening as they are constitutionally due. So we hope that within the 5 weeks from before June 26th, we'll have some indication as to when the date will be called. Because you see, that gives our membership, it gives our persons who are interested in participating, whether they are going to put their hands up for an executive position, whether they are just interested in hearing what persons have to say, whether they're interested in voting, it gives them ample time to prepare themselves so that they are ready to participate fully in the internal mechanisms. And so I would advocate for that the calling of the date beyond this tight stipulation. So I will give our membership, because we are all on the same team. So it's a question of giving our membership.
Are you all on the same team?
Well, yeah, the United National Congress has certain inbuilt values. You have we have a commitment to good governance. We have a commitment from the party's mandate to deliver equitable and transformative governance. It is listed in the aims and the objectives of the party. And so the disagreement would not be on those aims and objectives, it would be on the execution of same. And maybe some persons have decided that they prefer a different path, and that's fine. That is all part and parcel of being part of an organization. But you ought to be able to find a way to discuss those differences and then move forward, because the aims and objectives of the organization remain the same, and the membership gets to decide whose path to delivering those aims and objectives are the ones that you would sign on to by way of your vote. And so, yeah, same team, maybe different decisions on how to proceed forward.
Anita, has the internal elections been postponed by the national executive at a general meeting before? Is there precedent for that?
Mrs. Prasad-Bissessar, to her credit, has been very good at sticking with ensuring that our executive that our membership, has a say. So to her credit, the elections have been held. What we've seen happening, though, is that the framers of our constitution would have, in their wisdom, put the national executives to take place every 2 years, and the position of political leader every 3 years. I believe it is to create a sort of check, so that the executive is not necessarily an executive that is beholden to a political leader, that the executive is beholden to the members. That's the way it ought to operate. What we've seen happening, though, is that there has been moves to either move up the political leader position so that the entire slate runs. So it is political leader, deputy political leaders, etc. come down. So that is the only thing that we've seen. But like I said, to her credit, Mrs. Prasad-Bissessar has held internal elections when they are due.
So there's nothing to suggest that it would not happen then as constitutionally due this year.
Pardon? What was that? Sorry?
So there's nothing to suggest that this year will be any different.
Well, prior to the calls being made, there was a certain narrative being put forward to the public, that we are in preparation for general elections and that we must stay focused on general elections. And therefore, the message had to be also included that we can, in fact, satisfy our constitutional mandates while preparing for general elections. Those things can exist at the same time, because in the execution of an internal election, it gives you, all of us, an opportunity to go to our membership to say this is how we intend to govern the party and therefore govern the country. I mean, Trinidad and Tobago is in a space. Next year is 2025. We've seen lower voter turnouts over time. Those of us, you must know it. There's a frustrated society. There's a sense that politics is not catered to people, that it is not, that we don't discuss things that matter to the average citizen, and that we are, ensconced in our ivory towers, and that we don't hear the cries of persons. And so I think it is important, it is imperative on all political organizations, all political players, to deliver the type of transformative politics that will get persons interested, willing to participate, because that is the only way we'll get the country that we hope to see. And so the way I can do that is by encouraging it in my own political organization, by saying, let us ensure robust conversation. Let us not be afraid of disagreement, but let us come to a consensus on how do you build the party and therefore build the country, because that is extremely important. We are facing issues. I mean, Paul and I, in our parliamentary duties, would have gone to a workshop on data and what it means in policy making. We are at a space where we can't be trifling with issues that can so significantly affect our population that we could be set backwards by decades. And so for me, this is a really important space. I take it as my personal duty as somebody who entered politics to say that we all can do better. And one way of doing that is maturing our political process. It is in saying that political parties ought to be able to show the population how they will improve their organization, improve the governance of their organization, because that is how you'll show you are prepared to govern the entire country. And
all of that is philosophically wonderful in terms of how party politics should be and governance should be. But of course, you're in a Trinidad and Tobago space where politicians can sometimes be petty and vindictive, and there are repercussions for when you step out of the line. So is it that you are confident that the UNC is progressive enough in terms of moving forward beyond this dissident narrative, or do you think petty and vindictive politics will play and lead to certain consequences for the so-called dissidents?
Well, I am confident in my ability to be a good communicator. And so therefore, I hope that as I go, because I'm not just delivering the message over over the TV and radio stations and whatnot. I'm delivering the message within communities as well. And so, I mean, politics is meant to be persuasive. If it is that the population is not ready for this type of politics, they'll say so, and I'll have to accept that. But in accepting the decision of the population, you ought not to dissuade yourself from trying, right? I mean, so I have a platform. I believe in something very strongly, and I believe in something that would both develop the organization I'm a part of, as well as my nation. And so it is imperative on me to deliver the message. So we'll see. The only way to test is at the polls. The way you test this is at the polls. Persons will have their say, and we have to respect that. But you certainly have to try.
Well, if you get a chance to face the polls, but before I even go into that, because it follows some Richard's question, following from one of the statements you made earlier on, do you think there's a conflict to do, or is there a concern from on your part from the...
My parents own a Chinese restaurant.
Okay, somebody has an audio device on. Do you see a conflict, or is there a concern that there had been a call for persons wishing to submit themselves for nomination for constituencies for the general election, even before a date for the internal election has been named, or that process triggered, as you indicated earlier on? Is there a conflict there or concern? Is there a precedent for that?
I think that was also part of the rationale behind making a call early on, because certainly if the screening committee comes from the national executive and we've all agreed that the executive will expire in June of this year, it would be illogical to set up a screening committee in May and have those persons screen persons between May and June and then expire, their term in office expires. It would be certainly procedurally the best thing to trigger the internal elections. An executive with a new mandate selects the team going forward in 2025. And so, well, we wait to see what occurs with that. But I think our position, well, certainly my position has been clear that the logical sequence of events would be to allow members, the UNC members, to have their say in terms of who governs us internally, and then those persons with that mandate select a team that goes forward to present our message nationally.
Now, last Friday, yourself, you had a personal emergency. You stated that in advance, and 4 others of your colleagues were absent from the parliament. And there was a vote, which the government was able to be successful in their moving of. There's a lot of narrative coming out of that quote unquote, you had broke beach. There was suggestions that there was collusion among the 5 to stay away to make a statement because you're being called dissidents as a collective.
Yes.
Would you like to clear the air on that from your perspective on the record now?
Yes, certainly. I would have had to issue a press release. In terms of my political career, I think that has been one of the more difficult spaces that I've been in. Just given that the idea that publicly within my own political organization at our anniversary function, there would be a space to use that as a space to suggest some sort of sinister intent when no such thing existed, put me in a really uncomfortable position where I had to address something publicly. Because since making my call for internal elections, I'm sure you would have seen it, various persons would have said different things, and I've chosen not to respond because I really don't feel that it is beneficial. I don't think it adds to the progressive level of politics that I'm seeking to bring forward to the population. But on this one occasion, I thought it was, I felt it important to state that you really ought not to be so willing, even in internal politics, to suggest to persons that people will abandon their duty to country because of internal matters. That's a simple communication would have let you know. I mean, 2 weeks before this, 2 weeks, just the 2 Fridays before, we had a special majority vote that the government required 2/3 of the persons to pass. And everybody in the House voted along with our whip because the discussion had taken place and there was an agreement. And so then to come 2 weeks later and suggest it, I thought it was just a matter of political convenience. So just to be clear, I would never abandon my duties. There are more effective, certainly more efficient ways to send a message, which I have no problem employing. And so where I took issue was the implication of some sort of sinister intent. And so I believe that it has been cleared up. I hope that we can all now move on and deal with the serious matters because it was an unfortunate incident. I had to clear the air, which I think I did quite effectively. And now we can go on with the business of the day. And I really hope that as we go forward conducting our internal business, that we adopt a stance that we can put policy over propaganda, that persons can hear from us what we intend to deliver that will create a different result in 2025. How do we intend to strengthen our institution? How do we intend to widen our membership? How do we get people more interested in politics as a whole and UNC politics in particular, because we are UNC members? And those
but while you've cleared the air, Anita, sorry to interrupt, while you've cleared the air, one, you would imagine in the political space we're in now, nationally and in terms of the individual parties, and particularly two major parties, given that there had been a particular narrative leading up, and yourself and the four other members who were absent on Friday have been very vocal in your call for internal elections, it did seem odd or coincidental, some may put it, that all five of you were absent on that day. You would imagine how that could trigger some sort of suspicions.
Yeah, here's the thing. Just to be clear, only two of us were absent, right?
Okay.
I sought leave, and Dr. Rai Ragbir had, his son's graduation, which again is really easy to clear. You knew where he was, right? Then you had, if you looked on at the setting, because it was private members day, which ends usually at 6 p.m. The House adjourns, we know this, right? During the private members day, while Mrs. Prasad-Bissessar was on her legs, you can clearly see Rodney Charles in his seat supporting Mrs. Prasad-Bissessar. What occurred is there was a move by the government to extend private members day beyond 6 p.m. If you look on at the sit-in, you see the chief whip object to this, right? You hear Mrs. Prasad-Bissessar in her contribution post 6 p.m. saying, none of us expected to be here at this time. And so I think Rodney would have cleared the air on that he just did not know that this debate was going to take place. So he left just before 6 p.m. And and therefore again, this implication of some sort of sinister intent. But he was in the house. I mean, you could have seen him.
So is it an internal communication thing with the UNC MPs about what the process was and that there be the extension, the proposed extension?
And that was all that it was. It was an internal communication space that led to certain people not being there. And then using that, right, you created a narrative the following Sunday, and a narrative that I thought, well, you used the time being the party's anniversary to create the space, and then in the few days following, because yesterday I did some media on, Tuesday I did some media on it, which was April 30th, which was the party's actual anniversary. All of the things gets lost in this conversation on attendance, which I really went at pains during my press release to point out that it was a simple majority vote. Everybody knows that in a simple majority vote, because the benefit of winning an election is that you hold the majority of the seats in the House, and therefore you will not bring a vote for simple majority if you don't think you can win it, because you have the numbers too. So I mean, I thought it was again, it has created a conversation that draws itself away from actual issues facing us, national issues and internal issues that can be properly ventilated, that can be responsibly ventilated. And again, that's why I urged in my press release that until you call an election date, we should absent ourselves from doing this type of campaigning on UNC platforms. There's a way to do it, and there's a proper way to do it, and we should really commit ourselves to the proper way to doing things.
How do you think, we spoke to political analyst Rishi Maharaj yesterday, who shared the view that he thought this was hurting brand UNC, this conflict between five persons and others, and and the press conferences and the press releases and the accusations that you're having to defend yourselves, when, as you say, there are more significant national issues in front of the country.
So the population got to know me as the public relations officer for the United National Congress. I have a particular commitment and affection for brand UNC. And so you would always see me conducting myself in a manner that will really try to shield the brand from any sort of from being hurt. Because I do believe the UNC is a strong political vehicle. And so that is why I continue to urge persons that let us practice mature politics, so that going forward, yes, we know the elections, the internal elections are constitutionally due, and therefore they will happen. There is a way to campaign that is responsible, that is policy-based, that tells people within the UNC what they can expect that is better, what they can expect that is improved, what they can expect that is progressive, that is transformative. That should be the type of campaigning. Because other than that, you will get people, you will turn people off. And so, like I said, I found myself in an extremely unfortunate situation where I had to publicly respond because the accusation was publicly made. And so hopefully we can all find a way to improve what we are putting to the public and certainly to our UNC members, because that is also very important to me.
Is this a difficult time for you? Because to me, you've had a stellar political career since your debut on the scene. I worked with you in the Senate. I think, my opinion is that you're respected by your colleagues in the UNC. You're respected across the floor because of your communication style. I think you're respected on a national scale. I think you have a high likability factor. And so is this a difficult time for you personally and politically, or is this something you see that just part of the course?
No, I see it as a necessary time for me. I entered the political landscape, and I have, like I said before, I have been very consistent with my politics. I've been very consistent on what I hope to deliver nationally and why I believe the UNC is the space to allow us to deliver something that is really transformative nationally. I think that, I entered in 2017. I was 30 years old at the time. And, this nation, my home country, is extremely, extremely important to me. And so, therefore, you have to use whatever platform you have to create, you have to, wherever you stand, it is your duty to improve that. That is how you get the country you want. You don't, this idea of, I am in the UNC and I'm always looking to say, this should be better, this should be done differently, this should be done differently. And then I'm doing nothing to improve my organization. Then, there's some level of hypocrisy in that. And so I see it as necessary. I see it as a required time. And so I'm going to try to execute it to the best of my ability. And the hope is that the population will be receptive. The majority of the population will be receptive, because I can tell you, the messages coming to me is that people understand exactly what needs to be done and why it needs to be done. And so that they understand that it is not simply, we cannot enter 2025 election year and it be the same type of campaigning and the same type of politics that we've seen in the past, because you will get persons much more disinterested, people within my own age group aren't even willing to participate in the political process because they are so turned off by it. So I see it as necessary. And with any in any process, when you have to bring about some sort of change, some sort of improvement, it is going to be difficult. So yes, it is difficult, but it is necessary.
Do you think this will hurt your chances in the screening committee? You said you're willing to face whatever consequences you come your way from speaking out. I saw that quoted in the newspaper. Do you think this may have an impact on your chances at the screening committee?
Well, I mean, that would really heavily depend on what screening committee I face, right? So that if the internal elections take place and the internal elections take place, and then a screening committee is constituted from the persons who've received a mandate. Well, and so that's a difficult question to answer. I mean, if the screening committee is tomorrow, well, then absolutely. But it really depends on what screening committee I face. But I will say this though, and people will have asked, well, why would you do that? Because I think it's also important to show persons that you can call for something. I've heard questions about, why aren't you towing the party line? The party line, the party's constitution requires election to take place this year. That is in fact the party line. So to do anything contrary to that is what will not be towing the party line. And so, you get into this space where persons will have, whatever opinions they have. I will communicate my message wherever I have the opportunity to communicate my message, and then we go forward from there. But when I say I'm prepared to face any consequences, and I make it clear, there are also consequences to inaction. There are also consequences to remaining silent. So regardless of what you did and you didn't do, there would be a consequence. So you have to be prepared anyway.
Yeah. And that's a very good point, actually.
Tell me about it.
That's a very good point, that there's a consequence to inaction. And oftentimes in a small space, many times people don't want to rock the boat, so to speak. And politics is even a smaller space because it's a microcosm of the country where you have all sorts of egos at play. And sometimes you just have to stand up for what is right. And of course, now the political graveyard is littered with people who have stood up for what they believed in. And well, let's see whether Trinidad and Tobago is in a new space. But I totally take that point, that because of your sense of integrity, sometimes you are going to stand up and say certain things, and you feel motivated to stand by your principle of how you see something, and you should not lose that.
I don't know, Richard, if you remember, when I was very early on the political scene, I came onto Power 102. There was a conversation about how persons coming into, you told me all of it, everybody's the same. You come in here and people, you come into it and everybody stands within their party and nobody thinks about the country. And I hope that in 2024, you see that what I told you in 2017, I was in fact telling you the truth.
Yeah.
So some of us are.
It would be remiss of us to have you on this morning and not ask your opinion on the present imbroglio between the Auditor General's office and the Attorney General / Ministry of Finance. What do you think about this development and how it's playing out in the public?
And you see how it's playing out in the public. I think we in the UNC certainly can see it, that you cannot use your executive office to then control the voices of persons who are meant to maintain the checks and balances within our society. And so that the Auditor General is an independent institution. It is meant as a check on our executive power, and that it doesn't matter who holds the position. It is a space of comfort for the people of Trinidad and Tobago that there are persons guarding the guards. And so therefore, the persons who are in charge cannot now try to threaten and bully and create a space where that is uncomfortable for independent institutions. And I think that has lessons for all of us.
She has said that her office, and this is quoted in the newspaper yesterday, is under, quote unquote, under political attack. Do you think that's a fair statement?
Certainly from the conduct of the government in the Parliament, and that's what we can see. It appears that the language is also that of an attack, and so I can only imagine what we cannot see.
And that's a good point, because we're all doing politics.
You're conducting yourself publicly in full view of the public. Can you imagine what is going on? And we're not seeing it.
Behind the scenes.
Well, the persons who are in the know, we spoke to Mariana Brown earlier in the week, and persons who have held that office off and online have said that the Auditor General acted within the ambits of the law. There are deadlines. There were overtures from the Ministry of Finance to supply additional information that they say would have corrected what they describe as an understatement of the national public accounts to the tune of about $3 billion. It has evolved that, the overtures were refused at first, and then eventually a pre-action protocol that was sent by the Office of the AG, or could be on behalf of the Ministry of Finance, and it was accepted. It was first said that the Auditor General did not look at the additional information. The Auditor General has said that is an incorrect statement. I did, but did not see substantiating documents to support all of the $3 billion. I asked a direct question to the Minister of Finance on, I think it was Monday, asking about if there were documents to substantiate this $3 billion so that the Auditor General would have had to seriously take it into consideration, because that's a job. Somebody can't say, It had $2,000 extra there. Just put it in. She has to see substantiating document. That's her
Correct.
job. But that's the job of the division. He said, the Minister of Finance, you can correct me if I'm wrong, he was unaware of if there were substantiating documents. So it's interesting
and not that he was unaware, but still managed to make all of these public statements suggesting that, you know, there was to indicate some sort of non-compliance or some sinister motive. And that's what I said, you cannot use your executive position to intimidate independent institutions. They were set up for a reason. There's a job to be done. And I want to publicly congratulate her for her stance and her courage, because it is very difficult to stand up in the face of some of these, you know, when you see an Attorney General, Minister of Finance, and then you know, the full might of the government coming towards you. And so that is what we require across the board. Persons who, wherever you are, what position you hold, stand up for the right thing, and we'll get the better country, you know.
There's something that's not being said here. That very often there are questions about the validity of parts of the Constitution. And to me, the framers of our Constitution need to be congratulated here, because clearly the forethought that went into the setting up of divisions like the Auditor General's Office and the specific timelines involved and the protections or the insulation from potential influence are playing out as having a lot of credibility in this case to me.
And you know, we've seen in the past, whenever an independent institution somehow does not fall in line with what the government believes they ought to, there is this process of vilification of the problem is the institution. You know, and that there's a problem with the institution. And that has been something that we flagged time and time again. You know, you've seen it with the Police Service Commission, you've seen it across the board. And so that idea of using executive power, using your platforms to try to undermine public confidence in independent institutions, again, I really have to congratulate the Auditor General for not, you know, trying for how she's handled this thus far, because this is the reason it is getting the public attention that it has right now, and she has to be publicly congratulated.
What should happen next? Because at the end of the day, X will say the right and Y will say the right. But in the public domain, it's another example of a bacchanal, a confusion. You understand?
Yes.
At the end of the day, the Auditor General will have the right constitutionally to stand her ground, or based on information that may be sent from the Ministry of Finance or the Treasury Department, right, to amend or maintain the report that she has initially sent to the Parliament,
right,
which is yet to be. The Minister of Finance has said he has until, I think, May 23rd to late, according to law, right?
Yes.
What should happen in your opinion? Because this needs to be settled in the public interest.
Correct.
On behalf of the public interest.
Correct.
And we move away from the bacchanal and the confusion, and he say, she say, I say, you say, pre-action 1, pre-action 2, pre-action response, pre-action this and that. And no offense, Ragoobarsingh, lawyers making more money. You understand? As is wont to happen in this country very often. What should happen next in the situation in the interest of Trinidad and Tobago?
The Auditor General and that department should be allowed the full space to do their job as an independent institution, because they are there to do their job to safeguard our own, you know, democracy. So I think they should be allowed the full space to do their job, and that the government really needs to stop its interference. No overreach on the government's part.
Interesting. It just gets tiring sometimes, you know. It gets very, very tiring. And how are your constituents responding to the situation regarding you? And has there been, since this started, has there been a one-on-one conversation going back to the so-called dissident issue? Has there been a one-on-one conversation between yourself and Mrs. Prasad at all?
No, there's been no one-on-one conversation between myself and Mrs. Prasad. As for my constituents, so before I spoke out publicly, because it was a UNC matter, I consulted with my UNC Tabakit constituency executive. So I'm the member of parliament duly elected to take care of all the constituents in Tabakit. But there's a UNC arm within the constituency that looks after our membership, what ensures that the membership has their say, etc. And so I did consult with my Tabakit constituency executive. The space that we're in here within our constituencies, that we understand that we have the infrastructural concerns, we have concerns with the deliverance of basic service, water, etc. And that the way that I can most effectively try to get some solutions to these issues is if we can hold the executive position, we can hold government, because that is how, members of parliament, opposition members of parliament are advocates, representatives, but the execution arm of the government lies in the executive. And so they understand that it is important that if you want to make real changes, the realest change would be to ensure UNC government takes office in 2020.
When is the last time you had a one-on-one either on the phone or online or face-to-face with Mrs. Pasabi Sessa?
March 1st, just before March 1st, because I had my private members day in the house, and so we discussed the issues relating to education and the education sector ahead of my private members day on March 1st.
Is this length of time not speaking directly unusual?
I would not classify it as unusual. No.
So it's not a big deal. When you have business to speak, you speak business, and
correct.
That's okay.
Correct.
How do you see this evolving in the UNC internal issue, and do you think this will have an overall impact? Or we asked the political analyst this yesterday, and he didn't think so, on the UNC's chances going to 2025.
I think how we handle ourselves now will either improve our chances in 2025 or be our detriment. And so it is really on the individuals participating to conduct themselves in a manner that they are aware that the population is looking on. And so therefore, like I did in the beginning, and I'll do again, it is possible to conduct your internal affairs. It is possible to get through this internal election and strengthen our organization. And really and truly, it can only be done if everyone is firmly committed to doing what is best for the organization as opposed to what is best for some individuals within the organization.
Do you think the country has a strong opposition now?
Pardon?
Do you think the country presently has a strong, with all that's happening, do you think the country can say it has a strong opposition?
I think that the country requires a strong opposition, and I think that
that's not the question.
No. What the longer we take to announce an internal election date, the more of a distraction this may seem to be. And so again, like I urged in the beginning, if we've acknowledged that it is constitutionally due, if we can dispense with the business in a respectful and responsible manner, we can then put all of our focus into the parliamentary spaces. And I think right now, because we have to end up in this type of back and forth, and that can be easily rectified. It can be easily rectified, or personalities really takes it upon themselves to focus on the issues. We can have a strong opposition, but right now we have a somewhat distracted opposition.
Do you think that is there a formal or informal aggregation of yourself and the so-called dissidents? Have you had any meetings together? Because that's some of the narrative that's out there, that you have this opposition group, but not opposition, but a splinter group in the opposition that's an informal or formal aggregation to challenge the mainstream opposition. Is that an accurate suggestion?
I would say that there are persons who have an interest in a direction for the UNC, a strengthened UNC, and conversations will take place to that regard, but certainly not anything to disrupt the functions of our opposition party. I mean, of the United National Congress. Those are two fundamentally different things, which is again why I took so much issue with the statements that were made on Sunday, that there is some sort of collusion to hurt the organization. Whatever conversation is taking place is part of how do we strengthen our structures. From party groups come up, how do you have a more community-based, inclusive approach to governance internally? Because that is how you'll then structure your governance once elected into executive office at national pools. How, I mean, do you take a top-down approach, or are you interested in building community by community and therefore building the organization or the nation? And so those types of conversations are the things that are taking place. But certainly, absolutely, no conversation on undermining or dismantling. Only conversations about building and strengthening.
Karen has a very good question I'll put up. Let's just say, for conversation's sake, should you end up on the next NATEX, what are the main changes you'd bring? It's a good question.
Yes. Like I just said, my approach to governance nationally and certainly within the party is that we can build our nation, we can build our organization community by community. So this refocusing on how do you get party groups, how do you get persons in small villages or large urban centers participating and discussing issues, and then that making its way up to the party arms. So the strengthening of all of our party arms, from party groups, constituency, executive, women's arm, youth arm, the Congress, all of these things were done to create a massive inclusive Congress for Trinidad, for the UNC, for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. So I would begin by strengthening those, by recommitting ourselves to our membership, recommitting ourselves to the values of, politics that is grounded in our people, grounded in our human resources, because those are the reasons I entered politics. And so I think that is how we begin our transformation. We do it community by community. And so should I be on a NATEX, I would remove this idea of a top-down approach, that what matters is who sits right all the way at the top. But what really matters is if our institution is strong and robust at all levels. And so that is the main thing that I will carry through from now until, I see it improving internally.
Anita Haynes, it's always an absolute pleasure to speak to you.
Yes. Well, thank you again for having me.
You bring and you have brought and you continue to bring a breath of fresh air to the politics of Trinidad and Tobago.
Could I ask you one more question before you leave, Anita?
Yes,
if it is that you're not selected by the screening committee, and so you're not going up for the UNC for the politics for 2025,
right. Yes.
Are you going to consider a run as an independent? Would you consider joining another party, or would that be it for you in politics?
I think there are a number of spaces for national development that don't include a seat in parliament. And so I'm sure I'll find myself in a space that will continue my advocacy. But I have committed to an organization. My job is to do best for the political party that is the United National Congress, improve that product. I don't think that, shopping around politically adds any real value. I think you either improve the space that you're in or get in a space to improve something. And so I think there are lots of spaces for national development, and I am sure I'll find myself in one of them.
Thanks so
much for joining us.
Thank you. Have a great day. Be safe.
Thank you. All the best to you.
Yes, all the best to you as well. Take care.
All right. Adios. All right, gentlemen, this is where we're going to wrap it up for this Thursday, the 2nd day of May.
You'll have a great day. Be safe.
All right, so Trinidad and Tobago, the weekend begins tonight at a second after midnight. And of course, our theater is on this weekend at Cipriani College. Love is a Walk is back by overwhelming public demand after sold out houses last time we were there. So we are back this week, and tickets are already zooming. So get your tickets early. I mean, that, as I said, this play has incredibly great word of mouth. Saturday at 8:30 p.m., Sunday at 6:30 p.m. The box office at Cipriani College is open from 12 noon to 6 p.m. daily. So you can get your tickets there. You can also get tickets at the various outlets from K Squared Fashions in West Mall and East Gates, Electronics Arima, Jabili Railway, Tunapuna, Charlotte Auto Services, and Tony's Florals in Val Park Shopping Plaza, and of course, Creme Fresh in Brentwood Mall in Chagonas. Get your tickets early. Trust me on this. Have a great day, whatever you do. And remember to smile and laugh. It's great for your health.